and welcome back to My Artist Friend, the podcast about the artist behind the art. Today, I am your artist friend, so grab your cup of coffee, cup of tea, and we'll have a little artist chat because today is the first week in February, and I want to tell you about my Snart plans for the month. So if you haven't listened, I have an episode all about Snart. I'll link it. It's just there are like 11 episodes. It's not going to take you long to find it. As I mentioned in last week's podcast in the intro, January was kind of a crapshoot for us health-wise. So while I picked a theme, we didn't do anything with it. But I had a friend who did, so that made me feel good. But basically, let me back it up. If you haven't heard my other episodes, Snart is snack and art smooshed together. It was born from the idea that I really wanted to have more of an art education for my son after school. So have activities we could do, snacks we could make. I bit off more than I could chew. You can listen to that in the other episode. But each month I pick kind of a medium, and then we explore that medium in different artists through craft and as fine art through a couple of different lenses. And then we just make our own stuff. So we did a little bit last year, kind of fell off. January, I swear, the second one person started to feel better, somebody else got sick. I feel like that's the story of everyone's life in January. So when I was asking my son this morning, I was like, what do we want to do for Snart this month? I was like, what feels good to you? And I gave him a few different options. I think originally I wanted to do paper mache, and he wasn't really into that. And I was like, well, we can do some kind of painting medium. And he was like, and he goes, let's do ceramics. Let's do clay. I said, all right, that's super fun. And it actually works out really well because on the first day of February, on Saturday, we went with some friends to a paint your own ceramics place. And he ended up, it was so funny. We were walking out the door and he's like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I was like, let's just go. We'll pick a little something. Maybe you can make something for someone else if you can't think of something you want to make for yourself. And we'll go from there. Dude ended up blowing through. He made me a mug. He painted 2 other things. He was so into it. And that's how it ended up the first time we went to a place like that in Austin. And I'm so glad we found this place nearby because we'll definitely be doing more of that. But it was perfect. I was like, okay, let's do clay. So I spent a little bit of time this morning researching a few things, and I was getting really excited because I actually did ceramics. I was able to do ceramics in high school for a couple of semesters, which I moved halfway through my sophomore year of high school from Texas to Maryland. It was a big move. But one of my favorite things about the new school that I went to was they had a ceramics department. I got to do AP ceramics. So there was one semester where I just got to do whatever I wanted. I ended up making a full-size ceramic bass guitar because I was in a band at the time. That's a whole other story. My love for ceramics just continued, and I did it a fair amount in college, and that's when I started throwing on the wheel. And I really loved it. But honestly, it has been like 15, close to 20 years, maybe. Has it been? No, it's been like 15 years. Okay, since I graduated college. I took time off. It was a whole thing. Don't worry about it. Anyway, it's been a long time since I've done like concentrated work with clay, especially with throwing. I have not done it. But of course, every time I watch Pottery Throwdown, I'm like, do I need to buy a kiln? I think I want to buy a kiln, but I need to get an electrician out. Where am I going to put it? It's a whole thing. I go off on my tangents like I'm doing right now. Anyway, thinking about clay got me really excited, and I'm so glad that he wanted to do this. So I put together a little bit of a list for us so we can talk about, kind of look at artists for inspiration if you're not really sure what you want to do. We can talk about like books that you can read, stuff you can check out from the library, get from thriftbooks.com or bookshop.org. I'm all about the library, used books, and supporting local small bookstores. I've also got kind of some ideas of things to try, types of clay that you can use a little more easily, and then sort of activities you can do. So places you can go, things you can do outside of the home if you'd like to explore clay in a different way, and then just kind of a list of project ideas to go for. So let's get into it. So the first person that comes to mind for artists for inspiration was my friend Adam. He was on a season of Pottery Throwdown. I loved everything he made. Every little project he did on that show, I was like, I want this in my home. What do you mean? I need it. The cool thing about Throwdown is that all these artists, you can find them on Instagram. If they have Instagram accounts, if they're selling their art online, you can just go buy their stuff. And it's so cool. I have so much stuff from different artists from Pottery Throwdown that I found. But Adam's is my favorite. It's colorful, it's fun, it's whimsical. His husband does stuff too. Their style is just so cool. So if you are looking for inspiration for like Christmas baubles, I have a few of his kind of Christmas ornaments that I absolutely love. He does these really cool like bugs in frames. The sculptural stuff he does is really cool. And I feel like kind of his signature thing, if he has one, minus like the more seaside. They live in Brighton, so he does have a lot of kind of ocean sea things. It's kind of what I think about first. But he does a lot of small ceramics. He works with like the tiny wheel folks, and he does a lot of raku and firing in a microwave. So if you are looking for information on how to make tiny things, do stuff in a microwave with a smaller sort of little kiln, he has links to everything. But if you're looking to do tiny stuff with real clay, check out Adam. He does amazing things. And then I had my friend from That High Five Life, and she has been doing these amazing charm necklaces that go on like little carabiners. I love that trend right now. It's so cute. But her style specifically is a little more illustrative because she's an illustrator. She makes pins, she makes stickers, she does all kinds of illustrative work. And I love her style. And I love how she's been able to translate her style onto such a small, dainty, beautiful piece of artwork that you can wear. I think that's so fun. So definitely check her out. I'm going to have links to everyone below. No worries. There's also Sequoia Johnson of the Koi collection. I found the Koi collection via going to one of Jennifer Perkins' caftans and queso events in Austin. You had to wear a caftan, and then she had all these vendors. She had food that you could eat, and it was just kind of like a get together sort of thing. And it was so fun. And I walk in and I like zero in on Sequoia's stuff because it was bright and colorful and beautiful. And I was just like, I need all of this. And I still have some of her like, first few pieces. And she's since moved to LA, and she's done a big show recently that's really cool. And I'll link her stuff below. But the cool thing about Sequoia is she does, mugs, plates, illustrative work as well for more practical kind of vessels and things that you can use. But she also does these really cool, like whimsical sculptures that are really fun. Like she sculpted hot dogs and things. Like, I love it. It's so weird, but so beautiful and just so very her. And you have to check out her work. I'm like obsessed. Oh, I have another friend. Yes, I am shouting out my friends. I'll get to a couple of people I don't know in a minute. But if you don't know Ave Rivera, she's a ceramic artist. She has a kiln in her home, but she does mostly hand building. So her mugs and things, instead of being thrown, are hand built. And which is so cool. There's so many different ways to do the same thing in clay. And she uses a lot of really cool textures. She uses rolling pins to make fun textures on many of her pieces. And she makes these little fidget mugs that are really cool. So you can put a dice, like a little D20 in it. And so you can carry around your tea and just kind of fidget with a dice with a die in your handle, which is really cool. But what I love about her work is that she has taken kind of her niche interest. She loves D&D, and she has made D&D into kind of the framework of most of her stuff, which I think is really cool, because if you love D&D and then you find D&D specific handmade mugs, like, yes, little D&D ornaments, little D20 ornaments with little eyeballs on them. Loves mine. And she makes all kinds of stuff, earrings and all that kind of stuff. I love her work, and I think it's really cool that she, like, took her niche interest, knew that there were people like her that would love to have handmade, crafted things that have to do with their niche interests. So, like, maybe think about what kind of niche interest you have. Do you love video games? Do you love plants? Do you love cats? I made a whole business around cats. Are you kidding me? It's possible, and it's very cool. Now, here are a couple of people when I Googled famous ceramic artists, because I absolutely did that. I'm so sorry. I'm one of those people that's like, I have a wealth of information in my brain. But if you ask me to recall it when I'm not actively thinking about it, I will forget. It's like, oh, what are your top 5 favorite songs? And I go, I've never heard music in my entire life. I don't know. It just leaves my brain. So, yes, I Googled famous ceramic artists. But what I found were people that I'd never heard of. So, there was this person named Edmund DeWall, and he has this like installation. It was called the Library of Exile. So, it was basically like this little room filled with bookshelves, and all of the books on the shelves were porcelain, like porcelain books that were supposed to hold like memories or thoughts and feelings. And I was like, I love that. I just want to go in there and look at everything. And it makes me want to make tiny little ceramic books. So love that. And then I also found, and I started following on Instagram immediately, is Shio Kusaka. She does a lot of vessels, like large vases and things, but her use of color and texture were so interesting to me, and kind of the diversity of her pieces. I just thought they were beautiful. Everything I looked at, I was like, I want to see more. So, again, links down below for everyone. Okay, now we've got our artist inspirations, and I was looking through maybe some books if you were like, I don't really know what to do, and the history of ceramics and clay in the world is vast. And I'm not here to give you a history lesson. So sorry. But I found a few books that I thought might be interesting to you. Clay, A Human History by Jennifer, I can't even read my own handwriting, Allen. That one looked really interesting. There was another one called Around the World in 80 Pots, and that was from the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford, and it like took stuff from their collections. Don't think it's totally kid friendly, like a little bitty kid friendly, just because throughout history, humans love talking about things that are a little risque. Anyway, it looked interesting to me. And then there's another one that stood out called 10,000 Years of Pottery by Emmanuel Cooper, which looked pretty good. But it might be worth going to your library, seeing what they have. I was looking more for like the history of clay, just seeing how people used it in ancient times versus now, and how similar they are, how different they are. I think it's really interesting. There are also lots of books around technically how to use clay. So if that's more what you're looking for, your library's going to have it. And if they don't, you can ask them to grab it for you. That's my favorite thing about my library. I can go on their little portal online, find the book I'm looking for, boop, put it on hold, and then it'll get there, even if it's from another library, because we're all connected to a whole bunch. And I think that's really cool. Anyway, local libraries are amazing. Find some books on ceramics. If you're like, I don't know what to do with clay, there's a book about it. Okay, so now I'm going to talk more about kind of what to try. Honestly, there's really only a couple of things. If you don't have a kiln in your home to fire clay, your best bet is to do an air dry clay or a polymer clay. Now, from my knowledge, polymer clay is not really one that can be food safe, but I think there are things you can do. I believe there are food safe air dry clays and like varnishes that are food safe. I still probably wouldn't make like plates and mugs and things like that, but you could do your own research. Again, I don't know the technicalities of it all, but polymer clay and air dry clay are going to be your best bets. There's so much you can do, and I have some project ideas. I'll talk about those in a little bit. I won't get off track. But those are easily accessible. Your local craft store is going to have one or the other. They are easily painted. They're easily cured. You can just use your oven or like air dry clay. just let it sit. And that's, I think, what we're going to be doing mostly during our month of clay, to be honest, just because it's easy for a kid. If you're not doing it with a child, you can probably get a little bit more crazy. But if you are planning to do it with your kids, that's probably going to be the easiest way to go. Now, for some activity ideas outside of the home, I thought it'd be fun, to go to a museum and specifically look at the ceramics that they have there and kind of see how things were used, the difference between, fine art and craft in a museum, which I think is really interesting. I love talking about the differences and the similarities between the idea of fine art and craft. And it's just a fun day. We'll probably go to the University of Michigan Museum of Art because that's one of our favorites. And there's also an archaeology museum that I think would probably have a lot of really cool stuff from ancient times. Yeah, I think it'd be fun. Go to a museum. It's a good time, specifically to look at clay, but also look at other things because museums are great. And another fun activity that I mentioned earlier, because it just worked out that way, is going to a paint your own pot place. Those places are really fun. They can be a little expensive depending on what you pick. The place we went to had lots of, you could do teeny things, you could do ornaments that weren't that much, and then it went all the way up to a ceramic Christmas tree that you could paint. And it was $175. I was like, that's a little more than I was expecting to do today. And we went with people, and I didn't want to take forever because I'm going to want to make it pink. I'm going to want to put detail in it. But I do think that's going to have to end up being one of my Christmas presents this year because, oh my God, I want to paint my own ceramic Christmas tree. Oh, it'll be perfect. But the ceramic places are great. So you can go with your kids. They can paint whatever they want. And then they fire it there. And it's food safe. They have mugs, plates, all that kind of stuff because, it's real clay. And they glaze everything for you. They have a clear glaze that they put over everything. And they're fantastic. I think they're really fun. You can make it as detailed or as minimal as you want. I did a little salsa bowl because I was so excited that they had salsa bowls. And I used some speckled, I'll have to show you on Instagram later. But I made it with a speckledy glaze. And I did pink, speckledy, it's like rainbow speckles. On the outside, and then it's white with kind of rainbow speckles on the inside, and then I painted little black sparkles on the outside. Anyway, I hope it's cute. We'll see. But yeah, go to a paint your own pottery place. They're a good time. All right, and the last fun kind of extra activity kind of depends on what's available in your area, but we have a place that is quasi nearby and they do ceramic lessons. So there are actually a few places in Ann Arbor that do this, where you can go on the wheel, you can do lessons on the wheel, they'll fire everything for you there. And I actually just signed up for a kid and parent wheel throwing instruction. I hope Emmett's excited about it. He's probably not going to be stoked about it, and then we'll get there and then he'll like it. Hopefully. He might be more into hand building, but I'm really excited to go and do this throwing lesson again because I haven't been on the wheel, like I said, in years and years and years and years. I just think it'll be a lot of fun. And I think having this month as kind of our clay month, it makes sense to do something like that, splurge a little bit on a lesson like that. For this month as we're kind of talking about clay. So I'm excited about it. We'll see how it goes. I'll let you know. Okay, now that I have droned on and on about clay, let's talk about some projects that you can do either by yourself, with your kid, with your friends at a craft night. There's so many options. So in the fine art world, I made a list of, 6 things? So you can do small art toys. How fun is that? You could do, fan art, you could do a little portrait of yourself, somebody you love, make a little person, just a little tchotchke, make it tchotchke. Or you could do a larger sculpture. You could do it in pieces, glue it together. You could do one big air dry thing all at once. And there's so many things you can do with it. The sculpture is pretty open-ended. And you could also do like a framed sculpture, like find a really cool, like thrifted frame and do something that has kind of a flat back and then comes out. Ooh, like a 3D something. That could be cool. I like that idea. I don't know what I could do. Maybe like a floral something. So it's like out and then coming at you. It could be fun. You could do a slab sculpture. Like you could just flatten it and then carve out and build. And you can either build out like some kind of landscape. You could do something that could hang on the wall again, something that comes out, but make the slab like a really cool shape and structure itself, and then use the kind of carve away and build upon. That could be fun. Actually, I just remembered that I did something like that in high school, and it was hung up in like some government building for a while. I did a tiger like sitting on a rock. It was some kind of nature conservancy or something like that. I don't know. That probably wasn't worth telling, but I just remembered it. Now you can also do, obviously, a vase or a vessel. I love a little pinch pot. You can pinch it up, make a little bud vase for yourself. You can make a little, I want to make a little tiny, or I could probably just buy something from Adam because he has these teeny vases that he throws on his little tiny wheel. But like a little jar for whiskers for your cat, like when you find little whiskers out and about. I think it's really fun. Maybe that's kind of weird and dorky, but it feels very kitschy, and I like the idea of a jar of whiskers. Okay, so sue me. But yeah, any kind of vase or vessel, you can do all kinds of stuff with that idea. And now this last idea might be a little bit more labor intensive, but I don't know if you know about Calder and his mobiles, but it could be cool to kind of make some kind of mobile out of clay, just something that you can hang in sort of an artistic formation. It sounded better in my head. Just look up Calder mobiles and you'll know what I'm talking about. But it can be really cool. You can do something very geometric. You can do something really mid-century. You could even just turn them into just kind of hanging ornaments to put up in your window. I don't know. Could be cool. Just a thought. And then in terms of kind of crafty things to do, things that have more of a use, things that you can use around the house or make jewelry with, make some beads. I'm excited to make some beads. Get some little skewers. You can make beads around the skewers. And I'm excited. I really want to make my own beaded necklace with big old chunky beads that I make myself. How cool is that? And in that same vein, you can also do charms. Take a look at like the High Five Life does charms, but you can make a little charm bracelet. You can make charms for necklaces, teeny ones. Like this is more of a pendant. That's my next one on the list. It's a fine line between a charm and a pendant. And obviously don't copy any of the artists that I've talked about. You can use them as inspiration, but like do your own thing with it. Obviously, I'm preaching to the choir. Anyway, making charms could be really cool to make your own little charm necklace, charm bracelet. You can even have a little dangly charm on a ring. I love the idea of a tiny charm. Or you can go a little bit bigger. These are actually by Myostery, who I should have mentioned before. They're little porcelain pendants. And I have a little unicorn that I wear every day. And then this one's a little bear that I wear. I have a few of her things. So those work for necklaces. You can have like a larger pendant on a necklace. I wouldn't make anything like a keychain, something like that. That would be really easily broken, I'm afraid. But yeah, like a larger pendant for a necklace. Charms and pendants kind of go hand in hand, but I feel like pendants are bigger. Anyway, I need to stop talking about charms and pendants. Okay, moving on. You can also, technically, I guess it is still a charm or a pendant, make earrings. Polymer clay earrings are all over the place. People have such cool stuff. There are a few artists that I like to buy from that do clay earrings, and there are just so many different ways to do it. So I think that would be a really fun activity. Go to your local craft store, get a few studs or get some little hanging wire earring things, a few jump rings, and just go for it. And then another idea that's a little bit more original than my charms, pendants, earrings that are basically all the same thing, but we're splitting them up into 3 for the sake of the list, is you can make some buttons. How fun would that be? If you like to sew, if you like to make accessories, if you like to just upcycle clothes or just put your own spin on things, like just roll out some clay, cut out a fun shape, make some buttons to put on your clothes. I think that would be really fun. Also, in the same vein, and I'm a little disappointed that I did not have this written down on my list, and I feel a little ashamed as a pin maker. You could make your own pins. Just get the little pin bags, little E6000, slap it on there, make your own ceramic pins. I think that would be really fun and useful, and also a fine art, if you ask me, because I think pins are amazing. Okay, can you tell I'm really excited about Snart this month? I'm crossing my fingers that it is a healthier month for us overall. And I'm going to try to do at least 1 or 2 days a week having some kind of craft and snack for my kid after school. It's also just a way for me as a burnt out artist and creator to make some new things and to hopefully kind of shake the paralyzing perfectionism that loves to take root in my brain. This is all just fun. It's like what I talked about with Sydney last week is there's no expectation for this project. You know what I mean? It's all of these ideas, all of these artists, all of these books, all of these activities that we talked about. They are all just ways to kind of give yourself a little bit of structure and then let you go wild within that structure, because there is literally no limit to what you can do with clay as an art form. It's incredible. So you do you. There's no expectation. Nothing has to look good. You might end up throwing things away, and that's okay, because it's just the practice of doing it that makes Snart so special. So I hope you can learn a little bit. I hope you learn a little bit about the art and kind of history of clay. I hope you find some new artists that you can follow on Instagram and buy their beautiful things to have in your home. And I hope you just have some really good experiences. If you do end up doing anything this month, please tell me. Find me on Instagram. I am at the Becky Helms. Tag me. I want to see what you make if you end up going out and talking about it. I'll probably talk about it more on Instagram because I'm just really excited about it right now. So I hope you have fun. Thank you for joining me today. Be sure to check me out on YouTube if you're listening to the podcast. If you are watching on YouTube, just check out the podcast. I'm starting to get everything really moved over onto Substack, and I'm excited about that. So I'll probably do a few more Snart related things there. And in kind of a blog format, which is kind of exciting to me too. So, but yeah, happy February. The 3-month-long January is over. We're done with it. And now it's time to find some joy in art and creation. I'm sending you all my love, and I will see you next week.